This is 30 and thinking about retirement. What does a financial plan look like for someone in the early stages of their career? You may be just starting out right out of school, or you're in your 30s or 40s and doing life altogether right now. You may ask Tyler, why do I have 30 years until retirement? Why do I need to start thinking about this right now? Well, you should start doing some type of financial planning as soon as possible. We're going to talk about investments, personal and work retirement investments, life insurance, a touch of estate planning, and how to accomplish those goals, those future goals you may have. I started my career almost 10 years ago already in the financial industry, and our firm's been using these strategies for the last 20 years. So the simplest form of financial planning actually is when you get started at your work. It doesn't have to be at your work. You could do it personal, but usually your work, wherever you work at, offers some type of benefit for a retirement plan. It could be a 401k, 403b, simple IRA, some other ones in there as well you may have heard of. But that's a huge benefit towards you, especially when you're starting out young. And we're going to talk about compounding interest here in a second, but the biggest benefit they may offer is matching. So matching is when you put money into your retirement plan through work and they match a certain percentage. Let's just use a quick example. Hey, I put 3% of my paycheck into my 401k, and the company that I work for also puts 3% in. You already have 6%. You just doubled your money. So that's a big deal. Now you have to check some of the rules on that. Different companies have different rules with their 401ks or 403bs, so they're all different. But that's the simplest way to get started. And nobody starts with $1 million, right? So you have to work your way up. Now, thinking about the investments and actually what you use, historically, stock investments have produced a higher return over a longer period than bond investments. If you're like, Tyler, I don't know what stocks and bonds are. We have some other videos explaining that, but bonds are a little more conservative. Cash positions are a little more conservative than a stock position. So within your work retirement, they'll have you go in and pick. So that's a good way to get started and start planning for your future. Usually when you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, it's more like, hey, I have kids. I have a busy week ahead. Usually it's when I think about a work retirement, it's set it and forget about it. You can open it up and actually review, okay, here's what I own in here. Here's how much it is. Here's how it's doing. Probably about once a year. Now that kind of leads us into this compounding interest discussion. And I have some data here. So I want to use that same idea of matching. So let's just say you start out at let's just use 5% of your pay goes into your work retirement, and that's $100. And then your employer also puts 5% in, so now that's another $100. So there's $200 going into your work retirement plan. And just doing some compounding, let's just say you had 30 years of work ahead of you, and you did that for 30 years. You didn't change anything. It was always $100, $200 total with the match. By the time 30 years is up, you would have put in $72,000. It would have compounded, if we use an 8% average return over the years, it would have compounded to $271,000 at that time. So you put in $72,000, it's worth $271,000 or $200 at the start of it. You put in $72 total, and there's $271,000 at the end. So let's just use some bigger numbers. So let's just say we're going to assume the same thing. 30 years. You work for 30 years. It's an 8% average return, and let's just up that amount. Instead of $200 in total with the match from your employer, if you get a match, you get $750 in there. Well, $750 after compounding would be just over $1 million. So that's really the power of compounding interest. Albert Einstein actually said compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And he said, he who knows this earns that, and he who doesn't pays it. So that's pretty powerful. Now, kind of moving on, some of the other things you should think about with financial planning when you're younger is life insurance. Life insurance is used to replace income and cover debt. So usually when you're in your younger stages of life, you have a car payment, you have a mortgage, you have these things that normally you wouldn't have when you're in retirement. So knowing that, we want to be able to cover those debts if you have a spouse at home or if you have young children, if something were to happen to you. So, I mean, there's different really formulas you can look at to see how much you actually need, but really cover debts, replace income, and the replace income side is, okay, if something happens to me today, I want to pay for my kids' college maybe 10 years down the road. I want to pay off or be able my spouse to have my income for 5 years or whatever it is. So it's kind of up to you how much you want. Not really up to you, up to the person that's receiving that life insurance money. So keep an open discussion with that. But there's two types, really, if we boil it down, of life insurance. It's term insurance and permanent insurance. Term insurance is pure insurance. You're buying usually the cheapest insurance for only a select period of time. So we'll use that 30-year example. You have 30 years until retirement. You want to make sure that your income's covered for 30 years and not replace income side of it. You would, at 30 years on that policy, it'd be finished. Permanent insurance actually extends for your life. It's usually a little more expensive. And if you have questions on that and how those two work, we also have a life insurance video that we've done that we can refer you to, or call us and we can give you some more details on that. Another thing, normally when you're younger you don't think about is estate documents. Now, wills, durable power of attorney, which is durable or financial power of attorney, and medical power of attorney. Those are very important. Something happens to you today, your will should catch the things that don't have beneficiaries on it. A house, personal property, whatever. And you could have your will set up, hey, I want everything to go to my spouse. Or if you don't have a spouse, you can name who that beneficiary is on the will. And that's important because you don't want the state to decide where things go. And you might say, hey, Tyler, I'm gone. I don't really care, but it's a big deal for the people that are left behind. They want to know what your requests are, how you want things split up, or who gets what. The other pieces to that, to the estate documents, are power of attorneys. We'll start with medical. The medical power of attorney is important because what if something happens to you and you can't make decisions on your health? You'd want somebody that you trust to help make decisions in that stage. And the example I usually give is, what if you were in a coma and you couldn't make a decision? You want somebody else to make that decision for you, not somebody you don't know. You want a loved one to do that. Durable or financial power of attorney, similar in the sense that you want somebody to make decisions, but this is financial decisions. So let's just say something happens to me and there's bills to be paid and I'm in a coma and somebody needs to get my power of attorney needs to get money out of some accounts that they are not listed on. And they're not owner. I'm the only owner. Well, they can use a power of attorney to go to that institution and say, hey, something's happened to Tyler. I'm the durable power of attorney. We need money to pay his bills. And you can do that with a durable power of attorney. So wills, medical power of attorney, and the durable or financial power of attorney. Durable and financial are similar meaning there. I guess, the last step is really the first here, but you really need to find out what your goals are when you're doing financial planning. We talked about investments, life insurance, and estate documents. Those are really the three pillars that I think about when you're younger that you should have, in most cases, not all cases, but you should have done. With goal planning, I like to write things down. If I don't write it down, it's not going to happen. So if I say, hey, I want to be debt free in 5 years, um, I want to pay off, all these loans I have, student loans or a mortgage or whatever it is. And if you don't take action on it by first writing it down, then developing a plan, it'll never get done. You'll get to 5 years and you'll still have that same amount of debt or a little less, whatever the payment schedule is like. Something that I do personally, actually, on my phone, there's, with my family, there's a dream home that I'd like. I'd like to get to a point where I'd be able to afford something like this dream home. And I've seen pictures of it, so I always have that picture with me. And it's usually once a week when I'm doing something, I see that and I'm reminded of it. So that's a way I do it, by writing it down, having those that in my view at least once a week, knowing kind of what I'm working for, because you can. We're in the middle of the year already this year. And I remember stuff I was thinking about in January. Well, it's already June. And so those things I've lost 6 months already. What work have I done to make myself better every week? Or goal planning have I done to keep me on that path to accomplish those goals? And again, some goals change as you grow older. Like I was just using the house example. Maybe it's not a house. Maybe it's, hey, I want to take more trips. And I want to be more financially independent. I don't want to be paycheck to paycheck my whole life. I want to be able to take a trip whenever I want. Or maybe it's, hey, I want to stop working when I'm 50 or 55, and I just want to play golf for the rest of my life. Whatever your goal is, and whatever's linked to your passion, that's what you should be working towards. So, I guess to summarize with what my thinking is on this, is investments. Start your work retirement. Those are very important. We have some other videos out there talking about some differences between traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs, non-retirement accounts, and the tax implications on all those things. So feel free to go back and look at some of our older videos on that. Life insurance, if you have young kids, if you have a spouse, if you have debt or something, look into that. Call us. We'll help you through that process as well. And then your estate documents. Now, we're not the estate planning attorneys here, but you want to have those things in place. Your wills, your will for each one of you if you're married, power of attorneys for each one of you as well. So if you found this helpful, share it with somebody that's maybe needing some of this help. Reach out to us. Call us anytime. We're here to help you.